You're listening to the Black Directory podcast, where we focus on bringing Black entrepreneur experiences to the forefront. Each week, we will discuss the highs, the lows, and everything in between. I'm your host, Diamond Young. Let's dive in. Hey, Yetti.
Hey, girl. How are you?
Good. It's been so long. How are you doing?
I am doing great. I'm tired and jet lagged, but I am great. Glory be to God.
You just got back from an event, right, in Montana?
Yes. So I just got back from DJing a wedding for 2 former Olympic athletes for the U.S. bobsled team.
Yes.
So, yeah, pretty cool.
That's so dope.
Yeah, it was in the middle of nowhere, literally super secluded, no cell service. The only time we had cell service was when we were inside the cabins, which had Wi-Fi, but it was not the best even still, but it was just a beautiful celebration. Sorry if you guys hear my cat outside.
It's okay.
he's since I just moved as well, so he's still, he's acclimating and still a little anxious, but it's been a busy, a whole week. It's been a busy week. We'll say that pretty much.
Yeah. How did you find that opportunity? I want to hear a little bit more about that.
So pretty much, I'm on social media. I'm on Instagram, and usually whenever I do an event or a booking, I'll tag the location or I'll tag maybe the spot that I went to. So she actually found me through Instagram, and she she doesn't live in the Bay anymore, but she used to work in the Bay Area. And she had just been searching. She wanted a female DJ. She wanted a DJ who was, a woman of color. And I popped up, and, she reached out to me, and we chatted a little bit. And then we also discussed, what she wanted for her wedding and all those things. And I was like, yeah, I can do all that for you. And that's pretty much how the opportunity arose. It's pretty cool that she was able to find me. And yeah, it was great. It was so fun. And it was just really
Was that your
beautiful.
First wedding?
That was my first wedding.
Was that your first wedding gig?
My first wedding.
Would you do it again? Did you get that feeling of oh, okay, I got this.
Yes,
this is cool.
I would do it again for sure. It was just not only because I got flued out, but it was really fun. It was fun and beautiful. I haven't been to weddings in a long time. That says something about my friends. No, I'm just playing. But
we're all on the same page.
And I just forgot, how beautiful and sacred and just, it really is just lovely to see 2 people commit to each other. I was teary-eyed the entire time. And I was beaming,
crying, just playing the mixes.
Girl, I was and I couldn't stop smiling. It was really beautiful, but yeah, it was great. So if anyone, has an up and coming wedding, once I give my socials, you guys can hit me up.
Right. We'll definitely circle back to that because I definitely want people to follow you on Instagram. And it's kind of cool to see people for one, being able to find what they need now, of course, with hashtags and social media, but it's cool how people are looking for Black women DJs. This is what I want. This is what I'm actively searching for. Do you think that's a trend, or do you think that's here to stay, where it's no, people are ready to see changes as far as who's a DJ?
I feel like it's probably here to stay. And I only say that because from my own experience and perspective, even when it comes to doctors now or dentists, it's a conscious thing for me. I'm ooh, let me see if I can find. Before, even a couple years ago, I didn't necessarily think that way. I might have thought, oh, let me find a woman or a female doctor or something like that. But now it's kind of the first thing that I try to check off my list. And so I just feel even by the who I've been approached by and the people who want to work with me and stuff like that, like, it's like the influx is speeding up. And so I'm just like, I don't see it necessarily downtrending. Hopefully not, but you never know about society. But
yeah. I think you're all good. I think that we were talking about this earlier, just the power of manifestation. And I feel like that's something that we both did. For those of you who don't know, I used to live in Oakland, and Yetti was like the first person that I met, my first friend. So we spent a lot of time together just thinking about the future, and not even in like a serious way of like, let's think about the future, but more so just speaking aloud of the things that we wanted for ourselves, of like, wow, I could see you really DJing here, Yetti, at this venue. And, you know, a lot of those places already had, what do you call it? People that had a residency there, or a set DJ. And it's like a weird time where you're trying to figure out, how do I break through that? How do I get my name out of there? Because we were both new to the city. Yeah, you came from Oklahoma, right? Like straight from there to get your, you know, full-time job in Oakland. So it's like, even if you had a career somewhere else, or your reputation in this other city and state, it's like, it's a lot starting over. So how was that for you? That was my perspective. But how was it for you, like moving to Oakland and trying to make a name for yourself?
So in terms of DJing, I actually was really scared to even pursue anything in Oakland because, as Diamond said, I'm from Oklahoma. It's a smaller state. It's not like one of those states where a lot of people think, like, I don't know what they think of Oklahoma, but they're like, there's Black people. Yes, there's Black people. It's right above Texas. If you don't know where it is on a map, it's right above Texas. So just envision that. But in general, in Oklahoma, all the events I did were smaller. Like, I did, you know, some fashion shows. I did brunches, events like that. Sometimes I would do like college events. But in terms of the scale of like from Oklahoma to Oakland, I was not prepared for that. I didn't even know how I would kind of come full circle here. And so one of my first events was actually with Google for their Google Beach Day. And
let's give them a timeline. You moved to Oakland 2019.
Yes, 2019, June 2019 is when I moved to Oakland. Kind of hit the ground running, started work the next week. And pretty much I knew someone from college an old friend. So he works up here. And I think we went to like a concert like that first weekend that I got there. And so he was like, yeah, I have an event, you know, would you like to DJ for it? And I was like, yeah, sure. You know, I'm thinking it's going to be like, I don't know, a little private party or something, maybe 50 people. I was like, yeah, so where is it? You know, and he's like, oh, it's at, you know, it's at Santa Cruz Beach. And there's going to be about 400, 600 people there. I said, what? You 400, 600. He was like, yeah, you know, it's not too much. Oh
my goodness.
I was like, not too much for who? But so pretty much that was in June. So that was in June. And then the event was about a month away. And
so because you moved, did you move it in May or June to Oakland?
I moved in June, like I think mid-June.
That was crazy.
Literally. Yes.
That was crazy, man. It was like, okay, all right, you're put to work.
Yes. And the event came, it was amazing. I'm always nervous, but I always end up doing better than I anticipate. And so it was really good. Everyone had a great time. And there were like 400 to 600 people there, including the people on the beach. So I was just like, well, I have to make the most of it. I'm here now. So, but that event was like, definitely, yes, it was the beginning for sure. Like that opened my eyes to a whole new, you know, realm of a certain type of DJing, or who I want to DJ for, where I want to make my name known, stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that, because it's like, it's always good to reflect and think of, like, we were just saying, like, how much has happened in such a short period of time. Again, with the things of like, okay, like, I don't really know, this isn't my territory. I don't know everyone here. It's like, it could be a weird space of just trying to figure out where you fit in. And especially going into like that corporate side too. But before we go further into that, we kind of like went straight into it. I want to give Yetti a chance to talk a little bit more about her upbringing, where she's from, and what inspired her to become a DJ.
Yes. Okay. So my name's Yetti. As Devin said, I'm from Oklahoma. I pretty much grew up in like the countryside, Shawnee, Oklahoma. And I went to school at OU, so Boomer Sooner, if there's any Sooners listening. I went to school for engineering, got my undergrad and master's in architectural engineering. And, you know, in Oklahoma, which I don't know how many people have been there who are listening to the podcast, but it definitely has its own unique type of culture. There is a Black population there. So a lot of people might not think there is, but there is. And there's a good sized Nigerian population as well. I'm also Nigerian. Both of my parents immigrated from Nigeria. So I'm a first gen. And yeah, pretty much I went to school, graduated in 2017. So it took me 5 years. So I was actually class of 2012 for high school. And then it took me 5 years to finish like my degree. And I pledged Alpha Kappa Alpha. So for any Ks out there, skewy. And yeah, pretty much what led me to start DJing was in high school. I had been in the band. I was also on the basketball team. So it was like two really interesting things, but they meshed for me. So I was in the band, and I've always been interested in music. Like in college, I took guitar lessons. And then pretty much like maybe in 2015 or 2014, I got really into SoundCloud. And so I wanted to, like all the experimental sounds I was hearing, I was like, I want to learn how to do this in some way.
Cool. So tell us about your first gig. Like, where was it? How was it? Like, were you nervous? Tell us all about it.
Okay. So my first gig was actually a fashion show on my campus. So there was this organization for Black women, really all women, that was under the Black Student Association, and it was called Women of Power. And they hosted a fashion show every year. So the prior year, I was actually in the fashion show. But then they asked me if I wanted to be the DJ for the following year. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. And so that was when I first had started telling people like, oh yeah, I DJ. You know, I was kind of like joking at first. But then I was like, okay, this is kind of serious because people were like, oh, do you want to do this or that? I was like, all right.
Yeah.
And so that was my first event, and it went super well. Like the music selection that I chose, because that was when I was first still, it had only been a year since I had really been messing with all of these sounds and stuff. So a lot of the music that I played was like, really like, it was kind of SoundCloud-ish music, but it was like mainstream artists, just songs people might not have heard as much. And so the event went really well. And then from there, I got asked to do another fashion show. And then I got asked to do a brunch. Like, so it just started taking off. And yeah. And at the event, there was probably like 50, 60 people, maybe. Like it wasn't, you know, some big thing. But it was like, I was still nervous back then because that was like my first anything. But it went really well. That was the catalyst for everything else.
Yeah. Like, and how was it for you, like trying to find your sound in a sense? Like, was that hard trying to figure out like what type of music you want to play, or being able to really adapt to different audiences? Because if you do like a party for like 60 plus and then you do something at college, that's like two totally different vibes. Right. Like how was that trying to like balance that?
So finding my sound was, I think, actually kind of easy for me, because that's the whole reason I even started, was like because of a specific like type of experimental music or beats and stuff. So my sound, I guess, I could say it's like a mix of like Solange. I love Solange. I love Sir. I love Kehlani. I love Victoria Monet. Like all of these artists, or like even Doja Cat is a little kind of mainstream, but just how like weird she is with her music, or like that's what I like. I like that experimental stuff. So it was easy for me to find my sound, but learning like how to DJ, that was definitely harder for me. Like people might think I'm artistic, and I think I'm artistic, but I still think in a very like mathy type of way. And so I was on YouTube every day looking up like, okay, how do you distinguish this? How do people organize their music crates? And how do people, you know, make set lists and all of these things? So
I was going to ask, did you have like a mentor at all? Or for you, was it strictly just self-taught mixed with YouTube? Like, did you have anyone show you anything?
So when I was in Oklahoma, it was pretty much self-taught in YouTube. It wasn't until I got out here where like the scale of everything was bigger and just the opportunities were bigger that I was like, okay, I need a mentor for sure. And so one of my mentors out here, his name is Phil. So his DJ name is DJ LP. If anyone wants to look him up on Instagram, he's really cool. He was like a huge help for me when I first started out here. He was the one who helped me like get my price point right, because going from Oklahoma to Oakland, if I would have
That's what I want to talk about next. Yeah.
Yeah. So he helped me with that. He helped me even with, you know, what I should put in my contract or what I should charge people for in terms of like, oh, well, even though this event is this long, like I have to drive an hour and a half to get to you and all of that stuff. So there was a lot of things that I didn't even know how to do that he really helped with. So he was my mentor out here for sure. But before that, Oklahoma was just self-taught, YouTube,
trial and error, figuring it out. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And that's the thing too. I was just interviewing someone and we were talking about just the importance of contracts for everyone that has a business, a service. And I don't know if you have any horror stories or not, but so many things can go left without having like that proper documentation. And it's crazy because even if someone tells you like, oh, you need a contract, what do I put in it? It's like such a learning process to even know, like, what am I asking for? What am I trying to say? How do I create this? What are the things that I'm not thinking about? Like, did you go through that when it came to just protecting yourself and as you're going through like more partnerships?
Yes. So when I first started DJing, I didn't have contracts. Like at the time, it wasn't something that I really thought about. It wasn't really up until I moved to Oakland that I was like, okay, I need contracts, because what if I do an event and they don't try to pay me or XYZ? And so for me, not only with the help of my mentor, but also just researching online, that's how I pretty much learned what to put in my contract. And then I fine-tuned it to me. So I like to bring at least one person with me when I DJ, you know, just because if I don't know anyone at an event, it'll just help with my nerves. But also, like, you know, I have all this equipment that I need help with. And so I put that in my contract, you know, like I put it in there that I am allowed to bring a person to help me at an event. And small things like that, or even when it comes down to doing things like weddings or going to events, like I put it in my contract, like, I would like you to provide, you know, housing and travel, because if I am going to an event to DJ for you and I have to take care of all of that, well, that might be the amount that the actual service is for. And so I put all of these in my contracts, but pretty much like I'll have a baseline contract, and then depending on what I'm doing, like if it's for a club event or if it is for a wedding or if it is for a private brunch or something like that, I fine tune each of these contracts for that specific event.
Black Directory wants to hear from you. We're now accepting questions and topics that you would like to hear us cover on the podcast. Check out our show notes to see how you can submit a question, or feel free to slide in our DMs. Back to the episode. Was it weird for you not changing your prices, but just how did that affect you? Like, were you nervous? Did you feel like imposter syndrome? Like, I haven't been doing this as long as this other person. Like, should I be charging this? Like, what was that process from, of course you changed, like, of course you may know, like, okay, yeah, I'm not in Oklahoma. I know I need to go up, but how was that for you? Like, finding that perfect price, and did you get any like lashback of people like, oh, I don't know, that's too high? Anyone trying to bargain you? Like, what do you have to say about that?
Yes. So changing my prices was very hard for me. Like, I did have imposter syndrome really bad, because at the time I was probably in the game for 3, almost 4 years. But I was just like super intimidated, for one, because I'm from Oklahoma. Like, people are like, who's this girl? We don't know her, trying to break into this huge industry out here. And then, I just like, there actually was one instance where, so I was in the midst of like pricing myself. And I got this offer from this huge like event, and they asked me if I could pretty much work the entire weekend or whatever they needed for like $500. And I had
I'm like, is this the event that I think it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
And at the time, right. And so I had, calculated the price that it would be, that I would want to do the whole weekend for, which I think I priced it at like $1,000, right? For an entire weekend. So imagine if they needed me on this end of the center at one night, and then a couple hours later, I got to break down, set up at another place, break down, set up the whole weekend. I priced it at $1,000, right? Looking back, like, oh, I really could have charged more than that. But I told them my price, and they were like, that's unfortunately out of our budget, so we will have to go with somebody else. And that literally like broke my heart. Like, I was like, I did it so wrong. I did everything wrong. Like, because I missed out on the event, In hindsight, maybe I should have accepted that for the exposure, but I still wasn't even thinking in that way. So maybe I should have accepted it just to get the exposure and rub elbows with more people. But it didn't happen. And I talked to my mentor, because I was really like tore up over it. And he was like, well, how much did they offer you? I was like, oh, they offered me $500. He was like, for a day? I said, the whole weekend. He said, oh, no. He was like, you know what? At the end of the day, you need to set your price, because once someone pays for it, then the price is set. Like, that's okay. You know what I'm saying?
It locks it in.
Yeah, it locks it in.
It makes it a real thing of like, no, someone's willing to pay for this.
Yes, someone is willing to pay for this. And it did take me also doing my part to not feel imposter syndrome so much. So, I was practicing. I was making mixes. I think I made like 3 mixes like that year from 2019 to 2020. And I was just trying to improve myself and get better, because I knew if I want to charge a certain price, I need to bring a certain quality to what I'm doing. And obviously, I want to do as best as I can. I don't want to give someone, trash service. So
yeah,
I pretty much skilled up myself, and I was like, well, if I'm going to be charging this, then
I'm going to provide this quality.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And I did. So that was one experience where I was like, darn, but I learned from it. And since then I've still had,
I was going to say, it seems like you've still had so much success. It may not be that event, but it's one of those things where it's like, I feel like I could see it coming full circle, to be honest. I would not be surprised. And if it didn't with that particular event, I think now that it's old, because I know when it's like happening, you're like, oh my God, like,
Yes.
But I think that it's like, you know what, it's okay, because now I've been able to gain confidence, build my skill set, and people are paying me the price that I actually want to get paid. So, and I think these events they try to be cheap sometimes. Like, I think that, or at least what I learned, like on the side of that, it's like, wow, like no matter the name, it can be like 1,000 attendees where you're like, I know you all have the money. Right. It's just one of those things where it's like, you really can't get caught up in the name, the look, and the followers. Even just from in another sense, like not necessarily with being a DJ, but sometimes like I may go to people's like events or want to work with people and they have like a huge following and you kind of put them here. And then when you meet them, it's like, oh wait, like either they do bad business or you may not operate the same or it may be a little overrated or they may, you know, put their budget more on other things that they kind of value or have to prioritize. And I don't know, I'm just learning a lot about that as it comes to like things that seem so big. It's like it is, but it's like at what cost?
Right. No, that's so true. That is so true. And so that's kind of one of the things for me. Even now, my price point compared to other people's, it's still so low. Like it's so much lower. Like, and, you know, of course I'm moving at my own pace for what I want to price, but like, and I also think it's one of those things, like as a Black woman, you know, you try to tread lightly in so many areas, but you have to remind yourself, like, why, you know, why do I have to do this or that, especially when I am putting in the work, like, why do I have to short myself? So it's kind of something that I have to remember for sure.
Yeah. And that was bringing me to my next kind of point is like, what challenges have you personally experienced or seen as it relates to being a Black woman DJ?
Well, so I actually, and this happened recently, kind of, excuse me. I did an event with this organization, and this is like the first time I experienced this pretty much ever. So I did an event with this club / bar, and the person that I was in contact with, you know, it's my job as a DJ to respect your establishment, right? So I'm obviously going to abide by the rules that you all set. If there's a capacity limit, I don't want to intrude on that. If I can only bring one person, I'll bring one person. If I can bring two, I'll bring two. If I need to set up in a specific area or use a specific outlet or things like that, I'm going to ask those questions because I need to know that, you know? So this person that I was in contact with was like, I guess they were really busy that day. And, you know, I'm texting them asking these questions. I was like, you know, is it okay if my assistant sits next to the booth by me? I just want to make sure that we're all clear. There's no capacity limitations or things like that. And they responded with like, it's not wise for you to take a whole table, like, and I was like, I wasn't asking for a table. And the way that they were just approaching me, you know, I'm literally asking them questions like for knowledge, like, okay, is this okay? Can I use this or that? And they were responding like, you need to only ask me about questions that have to do with DJing. And I'm like, am I not the DJ? You know, I feel as if they were like coming at me because of the fact that I was a Black woman. I feel as if they were like trying to like talk to me a certain way because they had some preconceived notion of who I was. And so at that point, you know, once they kind of started getting rude, I was like, okay, I'm just going to show up with my people tomorrow, do what I need to do, because obviously I didn't want to let that damper my view of the entire establishment, you know, this one person. And so I DJ the event. It goes super well. Like I had a great time. And usually after I DJ an event, I get paid. If it's not the night before, it's the morning after, right? That's how it always goes. They put down a retainer, a deposit, and then once the event is completed, they pay me the rest. So after the event, I had been told the manager will contact you and pay you either today or tomorrow morning. And I was like, okay, fine. So I go on about my evening, enjoy it. the next day comes around, I don't say anything until the afternoon. And I haven't gotten any messages, any texts, or any of that. And so I send a text to this person and I'm like, hi, I haven't heard from the manager. Do you know when I should be expecting to hear from him or be expecting to get a payment? Well, about 3 hours passed after that. So by now it's like 8 or 9 o'clock p.m. And this person responds, we just finished one of our Father's Day events. You need to be more patient.
Whew.
Mind you, this was over 24 hours after the event finished. And
you need to run me my money is what it is. You need to run me my money.
I'm just following up. Obviously, I'm following up, which is a normal thing that when you do business with someone, you do, especially when they say you're going to be contacted within a certain amount of time. So when they said that to me, that's when I was like, wow, okay. Like at that point,
I don't like that. I don't like that's not the way you work with people and you talk with people, anyone, especially people that offer you their services to help make this event a success. So, and like you said, it's like, okay, is it because I'm Black? Is it because I'm a woman? You just start thinking of,
and you don't know. And then you're like, am I assuming? But it's just like first interactions should never be like that. That's bad for business, like you said. And so I don't know, like, as far as, and it would be unfortunate to not work with those individuals again, but I'm not ever going to let anyone disrespect me. You can't feel uncomfortable.
Like that. It's not okay. Because it sets that tone that like this behavior was okay when it's like it was not.
At all.
So did you get paid though?
Yes. Oh yeah, they paid me. Like they paid me for sure. They paid me more than what they said they were going to pay me. And I was like, I don't know if that's for whatever reason, but
that's interesting too. Was it like the next day? Like when did you get paid?
So that same evening, it was literally maybe like an hour after I had received that text, or an hour after I had probably texted them, or a couple hours after I had texted them. So I'm assuming that they saw the message on Instagram and then they contacted the manager, because I don't think the person I was in contact with said anything to the actual manager. So I had texted them and sent a message on Instagram because I was like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was like, that was the first time experience. And now I'm like, a little more vigilant about what I can expect, sometimes working with people. But that by no means is like something that's normal. Like that's never happened to me. And I've been DJing for about 6 years now. So
yeah, that's just super strange. And I hate when people have to like chase people for their money. It's like I've spent my time, my resources, the gas, however I had to get here.
Yeah.
I could have been somewhere else. So it's like I chose to be here. We had an agreement. And you just want people to do their part, but also like, I don't know. It's weird. I was talking with someone about this recently. It's like everyone's an entrepreneur in business and everyone's personality is like totally different, which is cool. But some people just aren't that personable and they don't see it that way. Or they may look at it like, well, I get the job done or I do this or I do that. But being personable really goes a long way. I don't care what anyone says. Like it goes so far and everyone doesn't have it.
They don't. And that is something interesting to find out as you're, working with people or going through contracts and jobs, is like, wow, like this is like a real skill to have, something to really have, because when you're personable, it makes people want to work with you again. Like it makes people want to give your card to their friends or XYZ.
Right.
But yeah, that self-awareness and that personable.
Everyone doesn't have it.
They don't. But yeah.
Even people that have been in business for a long time, it's not about age neither. I've learned that it's not about age or lack of experience. It's just really about values. And it's like, okay, how do I want to show up? Especially if you want people to come back or you want repeat customers or clients. And that's just something that I was just talking with someone about recently. And I'm like, Yeah, everyone's not on the same boat with that.
Right.
And you try to put out positive energy. Like, you're trying to really get ahead by asking all those questions. You're trying to get ahead of misunderstandings and confusion. Like, okay, let me ask all my questions up front. That way, when I show up, I know what's going on. I'm confident. I'm not confused. And everyone can do what they need to do that day.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's super crazy. So,
yes.
you know, we talked a little bit about challenges, contracts, pricing. How do you feel about, like, do you think the industry is becoming less male dominated at a slow pace or a fast pace now? We talked about it a little bit before. People are actually actively and intentionally looking for women DJs, but do you think that's something that it seems like it's like to the outside person is like, oh, wow, I see so many women DJs now, but to a woman DJ, maybe like we have a long way to go.
Yeah, so I still think we have a long way to go because, you know, even when it does come down to events or these big parties or concerts that are being thrown, when you look at who are the DJs, it's still majority men. Like, it's still a majority of the men have the residencies. Majority of the men are the ones who are return DJs for sometimes these party promoters or these people who throw these parties throughout the year. It's men. And even though they might have a female here or there, it's still not to the scale.
It's still not.
Yeah, like at all. Like, at least from my experience. And, you know, I'm still a bit green when it comes to being out here in the Bay. So I'm still rubbing elbows with people. But just even my experience, like seeing who is DJing, or if I go to some random bar or club, it's still a guy. And so I think that it is happening slowly. Like, women are, you know, coming up slowly. But I do think, you know, we still need help, or we need people to offer like a helping hand, like to still help us, you know.
So you think we still get fewer opportunities?
Yes. Yeah.
It reminds me of, what is that called on the corporate side? Oh my gosh, I can't even remember the term now, but basically it's like the concept of a sponsor. That's what it is. Like on the corporate side, it's like, oh, get a sponsor. And it's like this, now they're trying to put this pressure on, especially in the engineering side, but male engineers or just male colleagues to advocate for women and Black women. And like, and I think it's kind of the same, like, okay, like you are already in it. You guys have been dominating this industry for a while. Pull us up and help us kind of get there.
Yeah. And, you know, and that's not to say that, you know, like as women, we're not doing it ourselves. Obviously we are. But if I have to go around a house and down a tunnel and climb a fence to reach a door versus you opening the door, you know, that just helps. It makes it so much easier. It helps with, you know, giving us access to people and things we otherwise might not have had access to, or maybe we completely missed it because we were trying to do it our own way or the way that we've done it for so long. So, I think, I do appreciate, you know, the men out there who do actually reach out and they're like, we want you, or XYZ. And like my mentor and him just even being willing to help me, you know, kind of learn the game out here. I'm super appreciative for that. So,
Are there any like, I just randomly thought about this. Are there any like women DJ groups or organizations or communities?
So I want to say that I think I know of like a couple out here, not necessarily like in SF or Oakland, but like out in Vallejo.
Just like kind of global.
Like Vallejo, San Jose are small ones. In terms of like female ones, I do not actually think I know of one, and that could be my misstep or error. But
I was gonna say that may be an opportunity.
You know what? And thank you for that. Look,
because have a whole conference. I could see. Yeah, we could talk offline. I could see.
Yes,
I could see it in my head.
See, and this is why y'all need to have friends who are, you know, on the up and up. because whenever you have people who are like-minded in their goals, you can connect and just brainstorm. Like, and this is what we used to do all the time. Like, I think our last dinner together, we were like, all right, we're doing this. Like, like, yes, but we should talk after this.
We're gonna talk. You guys stay tuned for that. But I'm all about being a connector, which I guess is why I created Black Directors. Like, how can I create clusters of different communities and make it just easy to find each other and connect? And like, I remember in college, there was this one, female DJ, woman DJ, and she was killing it. And it's like the doors were open and the guy DJs were like starting to graduate, and you know how that goes. They're kind of leaving, and it's like, who's going to be next to host the pep rallies and the fashion shows and, all this stuff. And I still see her doing it. She's in Charlotte, North Carolina. So it's like you have these one-off people in your mind, but they don't know each other. And it's like different states. But it's not a lot. It's still not like I could think of 10 people. Right. But it's like, oh yeah, I think I know somebody. So it's just, but you all exist. So it's like, okay, like where could I find, I don't know. Yeah, we'll figure that out. But switching gears a little bit, I want to talk about, of course we were able to speak about just how things were really turning over, and you're able to just really just kill it in the Bay and get out there. But the pandemic happened. It affected all of us in different ways. And I've seen so much creativity in general on Instagram and online, because DJs and people in those, fields, like there were no events, like there wasn't, everyone was in like new territory. So you're, for one, trying to keep your skills up, stay relevant, and be top of mind for people when events do kind of come back around. So how did you survive during that time? Like, what were you doing and what was your approach?
So for me, one thing that I had actually started doing was lives. I know a lot of DJs had started doing live streams. So kind of just to keep my own, like, kind of to stay sharp in terms of like playing for people versus like practicing for myself or something, I would go on live. So I would go on Twitch or I'd go on Instagram. I was on Instagram more, but then I stopped because if you play like a song for over a certain amount of seconds, they'll like cut off your feed. So I migrated to Twitch. But that was one thing that I would do just to kind of stay sharp with, playing in front of a crowd, quote unquote. And then I also started doing Zoom parties, which was very interesting.
Zoom parties, yeah.
Yeah, like Zoom parties, it's just weird on its own because it's like everyone's on Zoom and you're DJing for them. But that actually helped, like, even still, because you're still DJing in front of all these people and you still have to figure out how to make your connections work on your end so that, they hear it on their end and it's not weird or it doesn't interfere with the microphone and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what I did.
For sure.
Yes. That definitely upskilled like my technical side, just in terms of making stuff work and making connections work. But for me, that's what I did. And when I wasn't doing that, like, it was hard because there were no parties, no events. People weren't.
Especially California. California was not playing at all.
At all.
It was like, we're in the house. Like, stay in there, DoorDash your groceries, sit down. And yeah, I just always think about that time. I think it was a very interesting time on social media. I always think about DJ D Nice and just the doors were wide open. Like, I've never seen so many people. I think he DJed for like 9 hours straight or something crazy. And Michelle Obama was there. Like, it felt like you were like in this virtual club. You're like, oh, they're there. And it's like, to make people feel so good virtually, like we're having the best time in our house to where we're like getting up and dancing and you're hearing music, thinking about maybe where you were when you heard it years ago. And it was crazy. I've never seen anything like that before.
Yeah, it definitely did kind of like push the limits in terms of like connecting with people virtually and still reaching that part of them that does make them happier or does like make them want to get up out their seat. So it definitely, it opened a huge door.
Because people can feel energy. We know like when a DJ is just excited and feeling good, and it transfers even virtually is what I learned.
Yes, it does. It really does. But I'm glad that, things are trying to slowly get back to normal, which I'm hoping the trend stays like this. Because I did miss actual events, like just being there and seeing the crowd and feeling their energy back. Like I missed that.
DJ says nothing like that. It'll never replace a real, but it's cool that you're still like getting flued out, it's like, all right, like it's cool that you're growing to where you can do gigs in other places, because your city may take a little bit longer, but it's like, okay, how can I still get, be plugged in and spread out? And best believe when I have these events in Houston, I'm going to be calling you like, all right, Yetti, come to Houston.
And it ain't nothing for me to fly down there. But I would love that. I would love that for sure.
Yeah. It's a long time coming, us collaborating anyway. So like, I think we should definitely do it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I know we're about to wrap up here. So I want to give you a chance to say what's coming up for you this year, what's next, and where can people find you?
Yes. So some more things that are coming up from me. I'll actually, I think, be but DJing at actually the place that I had the little incident with. Right. See, and that's why you be nice to people, because they'll be asking you back. But I'm excited, but I'm looking at working with them maybe for like a residency starting in August, like every third Friday or something. So cool. There's that. I'm actually booked for quite a few weddings this year. So I think my next one is in September. Then I have another one in October. And then there's a possible one in December, but we just have to pay attention to what's going on in the world during that season. And outside of that, I'm open to whatever opportunities. I'm really trying to get back into the corporate events as well, because that was where I kind of started. But so I've been like resparking those relationships. And I've also been in talks with another bar, but this one's in Oakland. I think you might remember who they are, Emporium. So I'm hoping that you remember the little game place. I'm hoping that that works out. So we've been in contact there. But I'm just trying to, get the ball rolling again and keep it rolling until hopefully. So,
I'm sure it will.
Yes. Yeah. And where can you find me? So you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at the DJ Fibonacci, and Fibonacci is spelled Fibonacci. So I'm sure hopefully it'll be in like, the details of the podcast, but
it will.
Yes. And you can find me there, or you can reach me at thedjfibonacci@gmail.com. And I'm pretty responsive on either or any of the platforms. So y'all, reach out to me. Let me know, y'all can have a bomb DJ do some work for y'all.
Yes,
I would love
Black
to.
woman DJ out here.
We out here.
I will be. Like I'm telling you all, trust me, and I'm not just saying this because she's my friend. She's a great, great DJ. Since I've met her, I'm like, ooh, like she has it. I'm ready to. So it's so cool to see just everything that's happened, and just since a year since I've moved away, whether it's virtually or in person, and I'm just excited to see, what's next. And you can also find Yetti in the Black Directory. So I'll be sure to have her in there. You'll be able to find all of those socials connected there as well. And I'll make sure to have it in the show notes. That way you can click right on it and find her on Instagram and all that good stuff. I'm super excited for you. I can't wait to see what happens.
Yes.
And if anyone's looking for a DJ, this is your girl. There's no need to look any farther.
Yes, y'all. I did want to say, so that those people who like I had that bad experience with, I don't know if I want to work with them again. And I just wanted to add this little tidbit. It's like, know your worth, know what you deserve. Even if somebody just come back and tries to say, oh, I'm sorry, can we try again? Like, I don't know if I want to work with y'all.
Deal with
like,
that on a regular.
Like, that's not good business. And so I don't know.
What they say, once people show you who they are, believe them, it's kind of like,
Yes. Yeah. And so I'm still like, I don't know. If it did happen, best believe the price point would be changed. And that would be the tipping point for me is like, but
what is that? And that's on period.
And that's on period. That's on period. But yeah, I just wanted to let y'all, I just wanted to say that, like, don't, accept anything from anyone. Like, make sure you put your foot down and be like, if this is going to happen again, then we're going to do it this, and this way.
Or, hey, can I get a different point of contact? Like, if everyone else was cool and it was just one person, hey, does this mean I'll be working with them? If so, can I work with someone else? Let's get on the same page so we can have a smooth experience. So I think as entrepreneurs, we're just learning as we go. Figuring out like how to make sure that we have the respect that we deserve as humans. Like, okay, I'm here to do a job and let me do that in peace. And as long as we're respectful, we're good.
Exactly. Yes, that's exactly right. So yeah, y'all. If
I love it.
Hit your girl up. We out here.
Yes. Be on the lookout for future events. Black Director is taking over 2022 with events. So I'm super excited. Definitely have to go to Oakland and do definitely a happy hour mixer out there. So I'm just, I'm ready. I'm excited.
Yeah.
People aren't ready. They're not ready for that.
They not. But y'all gonna get it anyway, so.
Okay, you're gonna get it anyways. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Yetti. This has been amazing.
Yes,
I'm so happy that you were able to come on. Yeah, of course. Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Thank you for spending some time with us. Enjoying the show? Be sure to subscribe and leave us a rating and review. Interested in connecting with Black-owned businesses and joining the family? We got you covered. Download Black Directory in both the iOS and Android app stores. Until next time.